I broke up with Liu Chuan. The next day, he moved out of the shared apartment. Everything, from small items like socks and underwear to large ones like the fridge and computer, was swept clean. All he left me was our cat Sun. Before leaving, he gazed at the cat we had bought together, lost in thought for a long while. Finally, he said softly, "Zhang Lian, a cat can't be split in two. I'll leave him with you, pay for his expenses, and come visit when I have time." The next second, the door slammed shut with a loud bang. The gust of wind from the slammed door snapped me out of my daze. We had been together for a year and lived together for half a year, and now it was over. The reason for the breakup was my fault. I have a male best friend I've known for years, the kind I grew up with. And since Liu Chuan is the jealous type, naturally, he couldn't stand our unusually close relationship. In his eyes, Jiang Ning is a dangerous member of the opposite sex who could sweep me away at any moment. But what he doesn't know is that Jiang Ning isn't straight. Forget sweeping me away, I'm almost constantly on guard against him trying to steal my partner. Finally, one night when my male best friend forced me out for drinks, Liu Chuan carried my drunk, alcohol-soaked self home and brought up breaking up along the way. "Let's break up." His words caught me off guard. I looked up, staring at his fair, delicate ears and his somber expression. After a few quiet seconds, I opened my mouth and replied, "Okay." The hand holding my thigh suddenly tightened. Frowning, I buried my head in his broad, sturdy shoulder, suppressing the turmoil inside, and whispered, "Let's go home." That night, I thought the breakup wouldn't affect me much, that in a few days I'd be back to my lively self. But I was wrong. I underestimated Liu Chuan's place in my heart. Early in the morning, I was woken by the sound of things being moved. With a throbbing headache, I walked out of the room and saw two workers moving the fridge from the kitchen. When they noticed me, they smiled and nodded in greeting. Before I could even finish returning the smile, I spotted Liu Chuan sitting on the living room sofa, a suitcase at his feet. His expression was tense, and his eyes instantly landed on the undone buttons of my pajamas. Almost instinctively, he grabbed the jacket from the sofa and wrapped me up tightly, leaving no gaps. I stared at him blankly, the memories from last night flooding back instantly. We had broken up. Facing this reality, a sharp pain spread in my chest, and my eyes grew hot and moist. I lowered my head to avoid his gaze, murmured an acknowledgement, and turned back to my room. Holding back tears, I brushed my teeth and washed my face. After dawdling in my room for a while, I finally dragged my heavy feet out and looked at the now much emptier living room. The fridge, computer, and washing machine here were all bought by him. Naturally, he took them all with him. Only the cat was left to me. After a brief farewell, he left without looking back. This time, I had truly crossed his bottom line. Clenching my fists, I looked down at Liu rubbing against my leg, then crouched on the floor as tears streamed uncontrollably. Perhaps in his haste, he had left behind his favorite perfume. I tightly gripped the small bottle, taking a deep breath of the familiar scent. For a moment, I felt as if Liu Chuan was standing behind me, about to wrap his arms around me from behind and say in a slightly teasing tone, "Using my perfume again without asking." On the first night after the breakup, I slept clutching that perfume bottle. It turns out, it's truly painful when someone who was always by your side suddenly leaves. These past few days I've been like a lost soul, holed up at home. When hungry I ate bread. When thirsty I drank water. I fed the cat, cleaned the litter box, and spent the rest of the time in bed. I didn't dare open my phone's photo album, because it was filled with our pictures together and the candid shots I'd taken of Liu Chuan. Back then, afraid of making him jealous, I didn't keep a single photo with Jiang Ning. Now it doesn't matter anymore. It wasn't until a delivery guy called that I finally forced myself to step outside. The new cat tree I'd ordered had arrived and was waiting at the nearby delivery station. Liu Chuan and I had chosen it together. It was large. At the time, I sat on his lap, wrapped my arms around his neck and told him, "When it arrives, you'll have to carry it upstairs, okay?" He just smiled gently, nodded, cupped the back of my head, and kissed me. "Miss, can you manage this alone?" The delivery guy's question snapped me out of my memories. I nodded blankly, pursed my lips and started dragging the package out. Just as I was silently pulling the package, I looked up and caught sight of a familiar figure across the street. He was wearing the black jacket he often wore, tall and well-proportioned. Standing beside him was a girl. I froze in place, my mind going blank, until urgent honking from behind made me jump. I snapped back to reality and quickly moved aside to let an electric scooter pass. When I looked up again, my eyes met Lucian's. What is it like running into your ex with a female friend while looking disheveled after a breakup? It makes you want to find a hole in the ground to crawl into and disappear from the world. I stood there dumbly, locking eyes with Lucian, until he leaned down slightly and whispered something in the girl's ear. Then he walked straight toward me, and I hastily averted my gaze. This was the first time I felt so flustered around Lucian. Even my posture and where to place my hands felt awkward. Lulu's cat tree arrived? He asked naturally, as if he hadn't brought up the breakup that night, as if we were still a couple. Perhaps because I hadn't seen him in days. I didn't even dare look him in the eye. I just nodded while dragging the package with both hands, like a petulant child. The next moment, the package was snatched from my hands. I'll carry it upstairs for you. I clenched my fists, my heart aching. How could he act so naturally with me after breaking up? Was I the only one suffering these past few days? Suppressing my discomfort, I followed his retreating figure. After escorting me to the door, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he walked into the living room, took off his jacket, and expertly found scissors from the cabinet to open the package. I frowned tightly, walked over, and snatched the scissors from his hand. Then, he looked up, puzzled, as if asking what was wrong. I took a deep breath and said coldly, Lucian, I don't like staying friends with an ex after a breakup. And I especially don't like acting as if nothing happened with a man I just broke up with a few days ago. Lucian's expression froze for a few seconds before he calmly stood up, looking at me with composure. Aren't you overthinking this? I helped you only because of Lulu. If what you were carrying wasn't Lulu's cat tree, I wouldn't have offered to help. After saying that, he glanced at his watch, turned, picked up his jacket, and headed for the door. Since you don't need my help, I'll be leaving now. My friend is still waiting for me. In the end, he didn't even look at the cat and just left. I stared at the closed door, feeling as if I had been transported back to the scene a few days ago, when I watched him move out of the apartment. Just moments ago, I had almost wanted to grab him and pour out all the words I'd been holding inside. But seeing him so calm and indifferent, my pride kicked in, and I refused to say another word. When Jiang Ning found out about my breakup, he rushed to my place immediately. Seeing my disheveled and miserable state, he burst out laughing. Noticing my resentful look, he quickly stifled his laughter and sat down beside me. Instantly, a faint scent of perfume drifted into my nose. I frowned and shifted away, saying with disgust, Why are you wearing perfume today? Did you find someone new? A flicker of unease crossed Jiang Ning's fair, handsome face, but he quickly laughed it off. Probably picked it up from someone else earlier. The next moment, he changed the subject. Did Lucian really break up with you because of me? Slumping on the sofa, I nodded weakly. Although it's because of you, it's also my fault. I didn't consider his feelings. I smiled bitterly, my lips drooping. He must have been fed up with my willfulness for a long time. As soon as I finished speaking, Jiang Ning, as if nothing had happened, rolled up his sleeves and started assembling the scattered cat tree parts on the floor. He smiled slightly, his clear, beautiful eyes looking over at me. For the sake of our friendship, I'll help you put it together today. He didn't seem to take my heartbreak seriously. Before leaving, he even cheekily asked me for Lucian's WeChat. I smacked him on the head, furious. You're such a dog. Jiang Ning just ruffled my hair like I was a puppy. You're the one who's a dog. I moved my head away, avoiding his touch. He withdrew his hand nonchalantly and nodded in understanding. All right. I'll keep my distance from now on, and not get too close to you. Perhaps seeing me living like a walking corpse these past few days, no different from a soulless puppet. Jiang Ning started urging me to explain everything to Lucian, apologize, and ask for reconciliation. To let go of that worthless pride. Seeing my lack of confidence, he suddenly slammed his hand on the table, drawing the attention of everyone in the restaurant. If he really doesn't believe or accept it, I'll buy a fruit basket another day and go explain it to him myself. Will that do? My eyes widened, not expecting Jiang Ning to go so far for our friendship. He usually hated getting involved in trouble. Seeing my look of disbelief, he added, "I can't stand seeing you like this, so I'm going all out. And don't you back down either if you're wrong. Just apologize." I took a big gulp of ice water, my eyes tinged with reproach. "Actually, you should have done this earlier. If it weren't for that night when you were crying and whining about the person you had a crush on being taken, saying you were upset, and bombarding me with calls, I wouldn't have gone out to drag you home, worried that Lu Chuan would be unhappy if he found out. But then you and your friends ended up getting me drunk, and you even called Lu Chuan afterward." Jiang Ning still showed no remorse and started complaining bitterly again. "Don't even mention it. That night, your guy's eyes looked like he wanted to carve a piece of flesh out of me. My friends were all scared, let alone me. I almost hid in the bathroom. But I didn't expect him to break up so decisively. Could it be?" As he spoke, Jiang Ning's eyes drifted over me, filled with implication. Could it be what? That he found someone new? Jiang Ning smiled, his eyes curved with gleeful mischief. I kicked him hard and he immediately winced in pain. "Jiang Ning, let me tell you, in my relationship with Lu Chuan, even if one of us cheated, it would most likely be me, not him." Jiang Ning looked at me sarcastically, all traces of laughter gone from his face. "Don't set flags too quickly. Be careful of being proven wrong." I just tossed back, "Never will be," and turned to leave. The next day, I actually went to look for Lu Xuan, waiting downstairs at the entrance of his old residential complex. Under the 30-degree sun, I stood there like a fool, holding my phone with both hands, typing and deleting a short message before finally sending it. Unexpectedly, just seconds after I sent the message, I looked up to see Lu Xuan's car slowly driving past me. I could even clearly see the face of the girl in the passenger seat. Lu Chuan in the driver's seat looked gentle, as if he were smiling. It wasn't until the car disappeared completely that I finally snapped back to reality. The next second, I lowered my head and withdrew the message I had agonized over. It seemed I wouldn't be able to talk to him today. Even the words I had prepared the night before were now useless. Chanting to myself 3 times that it was just a friend, I stopped all wild guesses and decided to go home. But the moment I stepped into the apartment and saw the empty living room, I couldn't stay calm anymore. Not overthinking was impossible, but I also wanted to ask and clarify things. If it turned out to be painful, at least it would be after knowing the truth. In the evening, seeing the message I had withdrawn, Lu Chuan finally replied, though it was just a simple question mark. Summoning my courage, I sent him a message. "Are you free tomorrow? I need to talk to you." Then, nervous and anxious, I lay in bed waiting for his reply. Soon, he agreed. I suddenly felt a wave of relief. After setting the time and place with him, I immediately jumped out of bed and started rummaging through my closet to pick out an outfit for the next day. In the end, I chose the dress I wore on our first date. I was practically awake all night, and when I woke up in the morning, I hurriedly covered my dark circles with a thick layer of foundation. Just as I was ready to head out, a phone call instantly shattered my composure. "Jiang Lian, I'm sorry, but I have a sudden business trip. I'm at the airport now and won't be able to meet you today." Lu Chuan's voice on the other end was steady and firm, with no trace of guilt for breaking the appointment. I gripped my phone tightly, my mood sinking to rock bottom. Unwilling to give up, I asked him, "Then why did you agree to meet yesterday? You always used to." Mid-sentence, realizing we were now exes, I abruptly stopped speaking. He used to hate sudden changes of plans. His company would always notify him in advance for business trips. In the over a year we were together, such situations never happened. Why did it have to be now? Just when I desperately wanted to see him? I bit my lower lip hard, and in the face of his silence on the other end, my heart felt as if gripped tightly by a large hand. A brief silence felt like an eternity to me. Only when Lu Chuan's voice sounded in my ear again did I notice the faint metallic taste of blood in my mouth. "Sorry, let's schedule another time when I'm back from my trip." I took a deep breath, trying my best to calm my chaotic emotions. "Since we can't meet, let's talk over the phone." Before I could continue, a faint female voice on the other end choked off all the words in my throat. "Lu Chuan, they're boarding. Who are you calling?" Almost instinctively, as if caught red-handed, I quickly hung up the phone. A few minutes later, realizing I had done something foolish, I repeatedly smacked my own head. What was I panicking about? Isn't it normal for Liu Chuan to have female colleagues? I tried my best to rationalize everything. I refused to let my mind spiral into negative assumptions unilaterally. Shortly after the call ended, I received a message from my landlord. Miss Jiang, you only signed a 6-month lease initially. Now that it's almost up, I wanted to ask if you plan to renew. I stared at the message, dumbfounded, unsure how to reply. Originally, after breaking up with Liu Xuan, I planned not to renew the lease and find a cheaper place. But now I wanted to reconcile with him, and whether to keep this apartment or not, I wasn't sure myself. However, before Liu Xuan returned from his business trip, I fell ill. Recently, with the change of seasons, the temperature fluctuated greatly. I hate the heat, so I kept the air conditioning on during the day. And naturally, a cold caught up with me. I thought drinking 2 packets of cold medicine and sleeping it off would have me back to normal the next day. But the minor cold turned into a fever. In the end, I had to drag my sick self to queue up and see a doctor. After sleeping fitfully for a day and night, I was woken by urgent doorbell rings. Thinking it might be Jiang Ning putting on an act after finding out I was sick, I opened the door to find the face I had been dreaming of day and night appearing unexpectedly before me. Perhaps he had just gotten off the plane. He was still wearing a black formal suit, his usually loose bangs slicked back, making him look less gentle. Combined with his expressionless face at the moment, he appeared aloof and unfamiliar. Seeing the suitcase beside him, I even wondered, did he come to see me straight from the airport? As I was imagining various scenarios, Liu Chuan's voice interrupted. I called you so many times. Why didn't you answer? Did the fever make you lose your mind? Don't know how to answer. As soon as he finished speaking, that familiar hand covered my forehead. The warm temperature instantly spread, giving me an inexplicable sense of calm. Still feverish. Liu Chuan frowned tightly. Noticing my thin pajamas, his expression turned stern. Go inside quickly. Don't catch a draft. I was half pushed, half led back into the house. Before I could say much, Liu Chuan pushed his suitcase to the corner, took off his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and headed to the kitchen. It felt like we were back in the honeymoon phase when he used to cook for me. The more I thought about it, the more my nose began to ache. He opened the fridge, and his slightly dissatisfied voice soon reached me. What have you been eating these past few days? There's only a spring onion left in the fridge? I was speechless, standing awkwardly in the living room. Since Liu Chuan moved out, I had been ordering takeout for every meal with no energy to cook. I had been living in a daze. Taking good care of the cat was my only real effort. After all, it didn't matter if I went hungry, but my cat son couldn't. As if hearing my thoughts, Liu came over, mewing softly and rubbing against my leg. Just as I was about to pick up the cat, Liu Chuan walked back, putting his jacket on again. Confused, I asked him, "Where are you going?" Liu Chuan's tone was full of helplessness toward me. There's no rice in the kitchen either. If I don't go out to buy groceries, what will you eat? The door closed again. About 15 minutes later, Liu Chuan returned with 2 large bags. For a moment, I could almost picture Liu Chuan as a stay-at-home husband after marriage. I barely managed to suppress a laugh. Before I could finish imagining, my head received a light tap. Then a box of medicine was handed to me. After you eat, take the fever reducer too. Without thinking, I obediently agreed. When that bowl of steaming hot porridge was placed in front of me, I was engrossed in the popular family drama I had been following lately, almost completely absorbed. The next second, the TV screen went dark and a pair of long, straight legs blocked my view. Looking up, I saw Liu Chuan's serious, imposing face. Eat your porridge, take your medicine and go to sleep. I didn't dare argue. I quickly sat up straight, scooped up some porridge, and put it in my mouth only to have my face contort from the burn. Liu Chuan was clearly exasperated. Don't you know to blow on your porridge? Then, his hand reached out and held my chin, tilting my head up gently as he leaned closer and commanded, "Open your mouth." My cheeks flushed with heat. I followed his instruction and opened my mouth, letting him examine my tongue carefully. A few seconds later, he breathed a sigh of relief and withdrew his fingers. Seeing me still frozen, he issued another command. Hurry up and eat. Maybe it was the fever, but at that moment, I felt like a robot without the ability to think. Lu Chuan's words were the highest authority to me. Less than half an hour after taking the medicine, I curled up on the sofa and closed my heavy eyelids. In my drowsy state, someone picked me up. Their steps were steady, movements gentle as they carried me and laid me on the bed. I naturally knew it was Lu Chuan, but I couldn't fight the overwhelming drowsiness. Before the words "thank you" could leave my lips, I had already fallen into a deep sleep. When I woke up in the morning, Lu Chuan was already gone. An inexplicable sense of loneliness washed over me. I picked up my phone and saw a red notification badge on Lu Chuan's pinned chat. Loneliness turned to excitement. I quickly tapped to open it. The message was sent at 6 a.m. When you wake up, take the porridge from the fridge and heat it up. I put your clothes in the washing machine. Remember to hang them up. And no takeout these next few days. I fed Lulu. 4 messages. I lay in bed, smiling, and read them for a full 10 minutes. After hesitating, my fingers finally typed out "thank you" and sent it. Last time he moved out, he left his perfume. This time, he forgot his watch on the coffee table. It was the same one I gave him for his last birthday. The black watch lay quietly on the glass coffee table, reminding me that Lu Chuan had stayed here all night, taking care of me the entire time. I clutched the watch tightly in my hand. My phone screen was still on the chat page with Lu Chuan. After weighing my words for a few minutes, I sent him a message. "Are you free tonight? You forgot your watch. Should I bring it to you?" After sending the message, I anxiously awaited his reply. From morning until 9 p.m., the chat page remained stuck on my message. I grew even more restless and uneasy. Why wasn't he replying? Busy with work and didn't see the message? He should be off work by now. So was he ignoring me on purpose? As more guesses piled up, my mood plummeted to rock bottom. This sudden change in attitude left me unable to cope. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep, constantly agonizing over what Lu Chuan might be thinking. When the culprit, Jiang Ning, messaged me, my already irritable mood grew even more impatient. Seeing my unusually cold replies, Jiang Ning directly video called me. Noticing the fire in my eyes, Jiang Ning's confidence wavered. He asked uneasily, "Did you eat gunpowder today? There's fire in your eyes and every word is biting." Suppressing the turmoil inside, I turned my head away, avoiding his face. "Yeah. What do you want?" I heard Jiang Ning sigh over the call. Then he said, "That men's bag you asked me to find through a personal shopper, I found a source. I wanted to ask if you still want it." My expression softened and I shook my head. "Not for now. I am afraid I won't be able to give it to him even if I buy it." Jiang Ning understood immediately and fell silent. "Anything else?" Jiang Ning looked innocent. "Mostly wanted to see if you're still alive. Such a great friend. In the 2 days I had a fever, aside from fake sympathetic messages on WeChat, he hadn't even bothered to bring me medicine or food. When Lu Chuan, who hadn't replied to my message yesterday, called, I was cleaning the litter box. Seeing his name on the caller ID, my frown from the stench instantly smoothed. I dropped the scoop and answered with trepidation. Hearing his warm, deep voice, tears almost spilled from my eyes. "I'll pick up the watch when I have time." After a few seconds of daze, I noticed the unmistakable weariness in his voice. Hesitating for a moment, I cautiously asked, "Did you work overtime last night?" He responded with a faint mem, then followed a full minute of silence. Long paragraphs of words stuck in my throat after all. I was just his ex now. After a soft sigh, Lu Chuan's hoarse voice came through again. "If there's nothing else, I'll hang up." As he spoke, my voice trembled. "Let's meet this weekend. How about tomorrow? Are you free?" Only when I heard him agree did I feel a weight lift off my shoulders and collapse onto the sofa. The time and place were set, and I had even picked out my clothes the night before. Everything seemed to be progressing smoothly. Until 9 a.m., when the doorbell rang. I opened the door, disheveled, only to find Lu Tian standing there in a suit and tie, reality hitting me like a ton of bricks. "Lu Chuan? Didn't we agree to meet in the afternoon?" Lu Chuan held a bag in his hand, stepping inside as he explained. "I have a business trip this afternoon, so I can't meet you then." He then took off his shoes and slipped into his old pair of slippers before entering the living room. I slowly closed the door. "So you're here to get your watch now?" "Yes. I bought breakfast. Eat it while it's hot. I watched as Lu Xuan laid out the breakfast item by item. 2 bowls of porridge, 2 plates of fried dumplings and yaotiao, fried dough sticks. I can't eat that much. Lu Xuan slowly looked up. I haven't eaten either. I quickly washed up and changed clothes, then sat across from Lu Xuan at the coffee table to eat breakfast. It had been almost a month since I last had breakfast with him. In the past, he would always drag me out of bed to eat. Because I have gastritis, I often skipped breakfast due to being late for work. So he would always get up earlier than me to buy or make breakfast, then use a mix of persuasion and force to drag me out of bed. Now, being able to sit across from him and have breakfast felt like a precious gift. Noticing my silly smile, Lu Xuan spoke up. Are you that happy about eating breakfast now? I looked up, meeting his teasing gaze, and quickly wiped the smile off my face. No. After breakfast I played with a cat for a while. He glanced at his watch, then stood up, put on his jacket and prepared to leave. Seeing this, I quickly called out to him. Lu Xuan looked at me, puzzled. I swallowed hard, picked up the lint roller, and handed it to him, pointing at his suit pants covered in white cat hair. Your pants are covered in fur ... He quietly took it, meticulously rolling it over every inch of his pants with an almost obsessive thoroughness. Finally, he returned the lint roller to me and headed toward the entryway. After wrestling with my thoughts for a few seconds, I stepped forward and grabbed his sleeve. Lu Xuan, let's get back together. After breaking up, I realized I just can't handle life without you. I could hear his heavy breathing beside me, and the hand clutching his sleeve was gently pushed away by his fingers. Jiang Lian. I thought it through carefully before proposing the breakup. I know, I said, my voice growing weaker. From the moment we started dating, I was serious about marrying you. That meant I needed to accept your lack of boundaries with members of the opposite sex. After 1.5 years together, I found I just couldn't adjust or accept it. We've had many arguments over this issue before. But, Lu Xuan cut me off. Jiang Lian, put yourself in my shoes. If I had a close childhood friend of the opposite sex, could you accept it? I shook my head. No. The core issue isn't Jiang Ning, it's you. You're just not used to life without me yet. I opened my mouth to protest, but Lu Xuan took a few steps back, his expression distant. Taking care of you these past few days was out of consideration for our past relationship. I also promised your mother I'd look out for you, so don't read too much into it. Lu Xuan's words felt like a bucket of cold water poured over me from head to toe. All this time, I had arrogantly believed Lu Xuan still loved me, that if I just humbled myself and asked for reconciliation while keeping my distance from Jiang Ning, he would agree. But the reality was that I had oversimplified everything. The door slowly closed, and Lu Xuan disappeared from sight. My eyes reddened and his parting words still echoed in my ears. In a little while, I might be transferred to work in another city. I didn't renew the lease with my landlord. Instead, I casually found a relatively affordable 1-bedroom apartment near my workplace. I originally wanted a single room, but I was worried it would be too cramped for my cat son to stretch out. So I gritted my teeth and chose a 1-bedroom unit. On moving day, Jiang Ning, surprisingly, came to help and even brought along a male friend. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to move everything alone, so I brought my buddy to help. I looked at the slim, handsome guy behind Jiang Ning and was momentarily speechless. His build wasn't exactly suited for heavy lifting. Not to mention, my luggage consisted of only 2 boxes of clothes and some kitchenware. Jiang Ning wasn't really here to help. He was using this as an opportunity to introduce his friend to me. Knowing my failed reconciliation attempt had left me depressed for a long time, he started recommending various types of handsome guys from his social circle. I just thanked him but didn't dare to take him up on it. About 2 years ago, on a whim, Jiang Ning introduced me to an adorable puppy-like guy, with great looks and a good physique. I happily added him on WeChat. After chatting for half a month, I found out his sexual orientation was male. He added me to chat because he wanted to be sisters with me. Ever since then, whenever Jiang Ning tried to play matchmaker, I didn't dare accept. After all, I didn't want a repeat of the experience where I spent all that effort flirting with a guy who turned out to be a bottom. So when I met Lu Xuan through a gathering, I didn't hesitate and launched a fierce pursuit, taking 3 months to finally win him over. The truth proved I had indeed found a treasure. And then, 2 years later, I lost that treasure. Lu Chuan said I was just temporarily unaccustomed to life without him, but a month had passed, and I still didn't seem to have gotten used to it. Jiang Ning invited me out for drinks. I refused outright, choosing to stay home and binge-watch shows. A month after breaking up with Lu Xuan, I had completely turned into a homebody. I didn't go out to have fun anymore. My mind was constantly thinking about how to get back together with him. After the failed attempt at reconciliation, I had even less motivation to go out. I chose to stay home, depending on each other with my cat-son. I even deleted Lu Chuan's WeChat. I was afraid I couldn't control myself and bother him. Every night, I missed him terribly, and several times I almost called him. Going back and forth like this, I finally just deleted his contact information. After all, we probably wouldn't have any contact in the future anyway. Half a month after deleting Lu Chuan's WeChat, I ran into him at the supermarket. Just a blurry side profile and the back of his head, and I recognized him instantly. He was standing at the condiment aisle, picking things out. My heart almost jumped to my throat, and I guiltily hid like a thief. I watched his back disappear from sight as he checked out and left the supermarket. Back in my apartment complex, waiting for the elevator, I heard someone call Lu Xuan from behind, freezing me in place. Turning around, I saw Lu Chuan's familiar side profile. A girl was walking toward him. I quickly recognized her, the girl who was in his passenger seat that day. She jogged over to Lu Xuan, saying, "Wait for me." Taking only a few seconds to think, I dashed for the emergency staircase and climbed the stairs without looking back. Out of breath after reaching the 6th floor, I leaned against my front door, panting heavily. What was I so afraid of? We broke up amicably after all. I dreamed of Lu Chuan again. I dreamed that 3 years after our breakup we met again. He was holding a son in his arms who looked just like him, and he made his son call me Auntie. I woke up terrified, desperately trying to escape the dream. Touching my eyes, they were still wet. This dream was even scarier than dreaming about Jiang Ning. Suppressing my depressed mood, I walked to the living room only to find that my cat son had stepped in his poop and tracked it out of the litter box, leaving several yellow paw prints on the floor. The air also carried a faint stench. As I silently cleaned up, I had a feeling today wouldn't go smoothly. The prophecy came true. Going out on the weekend to a random shop, I still ran into Lu Xuan and that girl. I even started suspecting they lived nearby. Right now, I was sitting in a corner, wearing a mask and pulling my baseball cap down as low as possible to hide my face. "Lu Chuan, do you want to try this?" "Sure. This one's good too. It's their specialty." What should I do? I can't decide which one to pick." "Pick both." I heard every word of their conversation. I was on the verge of breaking down, wishing I could rush out of this shop immediately. When we used to go out to eat together, whenever I wanted to order everything, he would firmly insist I choose only one, saying I couldn't finish it all and that eating too much would burden my stomach. Now he's so patient and generous with another girl. What is this? Favoritism? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I picked up my glass and gulped down the water. After emptying it, I slammed the glass on the table, grabbed my bag and left without looking back. After cooling down on the street for a few minutes, I realized I'd acted foolishly again. What right does an ex have to be jealous? Noticing a dessert shop not far away, I took off my hat and mask and went in, hoping to soothe my frustration with some sweets. While ordering, the mail server kept looking at my face. Confused, I touched my face. "Is there something on my face?" The mail server smiled shyly. "You seem to have forgotten me." Looking at this unfamiliar yet delicate face, I really couldn't remember seeing him before. He noticed and eased the awkward atmosphere. "I'm Jiang Ning's friend, the one who came to help when you moved." "Ah," I suddenly realized. "You're Bai?" He smiled and corrected me. "It's Bai Heng." After chatting briefly, I found out Bai Heng lived in the same complex as me. I'm on the 6th floor. He's on the 8th. This dessert shop was also run by his parents. Before leaving, he politely asked me to visit more often, offering me a 20% discount. I thanked him, but inwardly thought I'd never come again. Better not even run into him in the complex. If Jiang Ning found out, my peaceful days would be over. The doorbell ringing late at night scared me stiff while I was watching a horror movie with my cat. Every hair on my body stood on end. In an instant, Countless scenes of home invasion stories involving women living alone flashed through my mind. Another ring of the doorbell. Trembling with fear, I rushed to peek through the peephole. Well, I overthought it. It was a girl. I instantly relaxed and opened the door. Seeing the girl's face clearly, I froze. It was the girl often seen with Lu Chaoan. She was holding a bunch of ice cream and drinks. Hi, I'm Cheng Ro Ro. Sorry to bother you so late. My refrigerator broke. Can I borrow yours for a bit? Seeing me hesitate to answer, she blinked her pretty big eyes, her tone almost like she was coquettishly pleading. Otherwise the ice cream will melt. Can I, please? Naturally, I couldn't resist this soft-spoken girl's appeal and let her in. If I were the protagonist in a suspense crime thriller, I'd probably be lying dead on the floor by now. I also didn't expect Cheng Ro Ro to be so outgoing. After using the fridge, she didn't plan to leave. Instead, she sat with me on the sofa, making small talk. At first, I just responded perfunctorily until somehow, the topic shifted to the recent hit TV drama. I started opening up. Which character do you like the most? The second male lead, Zhao Xiao. He's exactly my type: handsome, gentle, devoted, and most importantly, has a great body with abs. In that moment, I felt I had found a kindred spirit. Right. The perfect man. I don't understand why the female lead doesn't like him. If I met a guy like that in real life, I'd just pounce on him, okay? That's why dramas are just dramas. I nodded in deep agreement. Just like that, we went from the recent hit drama to the currently popular young actors in the entertainment industry, then to hobbies and interests. I noticed it was already past 10 p.m. Before leaving, Cheng Ro Ro added me on WeChat and said she'd look for me to hang out in the future. I agreed on the surface but was extremely reluctant inside. Hang out with her? For a threesome with Lu Chuan. The second weekend, Jiang Ning, Bai Heng, and my neighbor across the hall, Cheng Ro Ro, all showed up at my door. The three of them squeezed onto my narrow sofa. Surprisingly, Jiang Ning and Cheng Ro Ro hit it off right away. Taking 3 bottles of juice from the fridge, I placed them on the coffee table. Talk so long you must be thirsty? Here, have a drink to calm down. Bai Heng took a bottle and politely thanked me. Cheng Ro Ro looked around and suddenly said, Since we're just sitting around anyway, let's play Fight the Landlord. Jiang Ning immediately agreed with her. Without even asking for me or Bai Heng's opinion, Cheng Ro Ro excitedly ran home to get the cards. After 3 rounds, the doorbell rang. Cheng Ro Ro quickly got up to answer the door. I was sorting the cards I was dealt. Looking up in that instant, I met a pair of surprised eyes. Lu Chuan, wearing a black trench coat, looking handsome, stood at the entryway. His gaze locked with mine. We're adding one more person last minute. Hope you don't mind. The word I mind reached my throat, but was forcefully swallowed back. I knew it. Continuing to interact with Cheng Ro Ro would inevitably lead to this situation. Mainly because this girl was too clingy and outgoing. Becoming her friend was just too easy. Before I knew it, the situation had turned into a 5-person game of Fight the Landlord, with 2 decks of cards. I didn't know how it turned out this way. I just wanted to know why Li Fan stayed to play cards with us. 3 of a kind with a single. Cheng Ro Ro, as the landlord, played first. I have it. Jiang Ning threw 4 cards onto the table. I glanced down at my terrible hand and sighed inwardly. When it was Lu Chuan's turn, he calmly laid down 3 2s and a 5. Then he looked up, his gaze faintly directed at me. I instinctively swallowed and whispered, Pass. Noticing Jiang Ning's smug face out of the corner of my eye, I silently glared at him. Midway through the game, my cat son waddled over with his chubby belly. He rubbed against my feet a few times, then went over to Lu Chuan. With a leap, he jumped onto his lap, found a comfortable position, and settled down to sleep. Such a disloyal cat son. Wow. Luli seems to really like Lu Chuan. Cheng Ro Ro exclaimed in surprise. Jiang Ning was stifling laughter beside me. Lu Chuan, however, calmly stroked the cat and uttered 2 words. Fate. How could he say that without blushing or racing heartbeat? Finally, unable to stand the weird atmosphere, I stood up and found an excuse. Everyone must be hungry. I'll go out and buy some snacks. With that, I prepared to slip away. Cheng Ro added from behind. Lu Chuan, go help Zhang Lian carry things. I immediately refused. No need. I'm strong. I can carry a whole case of drinks upstairs myself. The moment I stepped out of the complex, I almost collapsed. Jiang Ning sent me a cheeky WeChat message. Don't chicken out. 15 minutes later, I walked out of the supermarket with a big bag of snacks, wandering aimlessly on the street, deliberately slowing my pace to a crawl. I still hadn't figured out the exact relationship between Cheng Ro and Lu Chuan. Right now, I didn't want to go back and face him. Even though we broke up amicably, I couldn't interact with him naturally. It was even more awkward than facing a stranger. Dragging my feet to the complex entrance, I saw a figure standing under a streetlight not far away, slowly turning to look at me. That face, which had appeared in my dreams countless times, was now close enough for me to examine in detail. Lu Chuan walked toward me step by step, his expression seeming somewhat displeased. The next second, I heard his cold, hard voice. You deleted my WeChat. I couldn't bring myself to say I deleted him, because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to control myself from contacting him during the breakup period. I just avoided his gaze and tried to keep my tone as neutral as possible. Isn't it normal to delete an ex's WeChat? Lu Xuan didn't say anything more. He reached out, took the bag from my hand, and walked ahead on his own. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Glad he didn't press further. We played until nearly dinner time. Cheng Ro suggested we all go out to a food stall for dinner. Jiang Ning, never one to miss a chance for drama, practically dragged my extremely reluctant self along. Unexpectedly, Lu Chuan also followed, showing no intention of leaving. While waiting for the food, Jiang Ning, sitting beside me, seized the moment to ask Cheng Ro about her relationship with Lu Xuan. I sat to the side, my hands on my lap tightly gripping the folds of my pants. Cheng Ro answered openly and frankly, I'm kind of a distant cousin of his. So distant that if I hadn't come here for work recently, I wouldn't have even known about this relative. Cousin? I looked up at Lu Chuan sitting across from me. He remained silent, showing no intention of joining the conversation. Jiang Ning sounded surprised, and his focus shifted to her age. How old are you? Older than me. I'm 28. 28. You don't look it at all. What skincare products do you use? Your skin is so good. The conversation drifted further and further off topic. I sat quietly, listening without intending to chime in. All I wanted was to finish eating and go home as soon as possible. In the end, I miscalculated. Persuaded by Jiang Ning and Cheng Ro, I drank a few bottles of beer. My mind gradually grew fuzzy. And finally, unable to support the weight of my head, I slumped onto Jiang Ning's shoulder, feeling only exhaustion. Cheng Ro had a good alcohol tolerance. A few bottles down and she wasn't even winded. Bai Heng was the well-behaved type who didn't touch alcohol at all. As for Lu Chuan, he just watched us drink from across the table, his expression cold. He didn't even say a word. After eating and drinking our fill, we all prepared to part ways. Jiang Ning pulled me up from the chair. Zhang Lian, come on, I'll take you back. Don't sleep now. Woken up, I got up unwillingly and walked forward unconsciously, until I bumped into a solid wall of muscle and stopped. Before I could react, the person had already grabbed my arm to steady me. When I caught a whiff of that faint, familiar cologne, I knew it was Lu Chuan. I patted my head hard, trying to step back and put distance between us, but he pulled me closer to him with significant force. Lu Chuan, why don't you take Zhang Lian back? The three of us have decided to go for the next round. Hearing Cheng Ro's words, I instinctively tried to break free from Lu Chuan's grip on my arm. I can go back by myself. No need to trouble him. As soon as I finished, Lu Chuan responded, I'll take her back. You guys go ahead. Watching them get into a taxi and leave, I felt a wave of desolation inside. Cold gusts of wind hit my face, sobering me up a little. While waiting for a car, his hand never let go of my arm. The atmosphere was particularly stiff. Dizzy? Lu Chuan suddenly asked me. Sort of, I answered awkwardly. Right now, my shoulder was pressed against his body. The distance between us was overly close, making me very uncomfortable and eager to escape. Weren't you supposed to be transferred to work in another city? Emboldened by the alcohol, I couldn't help but ask. Probably leaving next month. Next month? That meant starting next month, I wouldn't have to pretend not to know him in front of Cheng Ro Ro anymore. My life would completely detach from his. Take good care of the cat. If you need anything, let me know. As soon as he finished, I felt his body stiffen noticeably. Then he added, let's add each other back on WeChat. I responded with an guiltily turning my head away. If I had known I'd run into him again, I wouldn't have deleted the WeChat. At least I should have waited until he left for another city to do that. Silence returned. Once in the car, I lazily leaned my head against the seat back, trying hard to shift my gaze and attention to the window. Finally, unable to fight the drowsiness, I slowly closed my eyes. When I woke up again, I found myself being carried on Lu Chuan's back. Looking around, the surroundings had shifted from inside the car to the elevator. The corner of my mouth felt slightly wet. Looking down, I saw a small wet patch on Lu Chuan's jacket. Before I could die of embarrassment, Lu Chuan noticed I was awake and turned his head slightly, his gaze unusually gentle. Awake? Then he crouched down to let me off. Flustered, I wiped the corner of my mouth. When the elevator reached the 6th floor, I rushed out, leaving behind a "have a safe trip, no need to see me off." Back home, I practically collapsed into bed and fell asleep. It wasn't until I woke up in the morning, fumbled for my phone to check the time, that I noticed a friend request on WeChat. It was from Lu Xuan. After adding each other back, he didn't send me any messages, nor did he appear around Cheng Ro Ro again. It seemed like he was avoiding running into me. My life seemed to return to calm. The next time I heard Lu Chuan's name from someone else was half a month later. Cheng Ro Ro suddenly came over and asked me, since her distant cousin's birthday was coming up, what gift she should give. Having celebrated 2 birthdays with Lu Xuan, and being together for a year and a half, I knew his preferences well. But when Cheng Ro Ro asked me, I couldn't bring myself to speak. The first birthday I gave him a tie. Last year it was a watch. At the time, I even promised him that next year I'd give him a bag or a suit. Not long before the breakup, I had already started picking out his birthday gift in advance. This year, the promised gift couldn't be given. Cheng Ro Ro pestered me for a long time. Having no other choice, I finally gave her a suggestion and mentioned the brand of cologne Lu Chuan liked. After hearing it, a flicker of surprise passed through her eyes. Half jokingly, half seriously, she said, "Sometimes I suspect you've dated Lu Chuan behind my back. I always feel like there's something weird about the way you two interact." Haha. My expression froze. I just forced a smile and denied it. Inside, I secretly admired Cheng Ro Ro's sharp observation skills. The day before Lu Chuan left, Cheng Ro Ro even asked me if I wanted to go with her to see him off. There was a hint of testing in her eyes. She was clearly still suspicious about the relationship between Lu Chuan and me. I sighed softly, thinking that since Lu Chuan was leaving, there was no real need to hide it from her anymore. I told her everything about my past with Lu Xuan in detail. She didn't seem surprised after hearing it. There was even a touch of pride in her tone. A woman's intuition is never wrong. From the way Lu Chuan looked at you during that card game, I knew there might be something between you two. The way he looked at you was just different from how he looks at others. Suddenly, excitement flashed in Cheng Ro Ro's eyes. Let me ask you, after Lu Chuan took you back from the food stall that night, he came to find me. His eyes were red, and he looked really upset. Did something happen between you two? I was momentarily speechless. If something did happen, it was probably just me drooling on his jacket, right? You're just reading too much into it. In the 2 years I've known Lu Xuan, I've never seen him cry or even get teary-eyed. He's reserved by nature and mostly keeps his worries to himself. Even as his girlfriend, he wasn't very willing to share his inner thoughts. If something upset him, he rarely brought it up in front of me. I even gave him a nickname before, Mr. Stoic. He silently accepted it. Our dynamic had always been me being the chatterbox, lively and noisy around him. The only time he showed vulnerability in front of me was last year, when I accompanied him to his grandmother's funeral. When we were alone in a room, he suddenly buried his head in the crook of my neck, held me tightly, and said in a low voice, "Don't move. Just stay like this for a while." I did. We just held each other like that in the room for half an hour. Even when my arms went stiff, I didn't want to let go. I just stroked his hair like comforting a child, without saying a word. The room was so quiet you could only hear each other's breathing. After a long while, he released me, turned his head away awkwardly and said, "Sorry." If you looked closely, the tips of his ears were slightly red. During the funeral service, he was back to his usual calm and composed self. No one knew he had been acting almost clingy with me just moments before. Even Jiang Ning complained that he was too stoic on the outside, passionate inside, and that he was only suitable for someone as lively as me. I just smiled without saying anything. Back when I was chasing Lu Chuan, his reactions were so cold and boring that I almost wanted to give up. I was almost always the one taking the initiative in our interactions. Until that one time, on a date, I pretended to be discouraged and said to him, "Lu Chuan, you're too hard to chase. I might have to give up." After I said that, his habitually cold face showed a flicker of emotion. He lowered his head, trying to act calm as he took a sip of water, but ended up choking and turning bright red. Finally, he raised his slightly reddened eyes and said softly, "Let's be together." At that moment, I wondered if that sip of water had somehow cleared his mind. Later, at the right time, we decided to move in together and adopted a cat. When we brought him home, he was exactly 6 months old, so we named him Liu Liu. During that time, we fought, argued, and even came close to breaking up more than once. And now, we've been broken up for several months. As I was reminiscing about all these things with Lu Chuan, Cheng Roro shook my shoulders. "Let's go buy a farewell gift for my cousin?" Without waiting for my answer, she pulled me up from the sofa. Cheng Roro planned to buy Lu Chuan a massage pillow. I browsed around and finally chose a pair of decorative cat-shaped ceramics. Before heading home, I handed them to Cheng Roro, repeatedly instructing her not to tell Lu Chuan they were from me. The next day, I slept at home the entire day. When I woke up, I saw Lu Chuan had sent me a WeChat message. "Thanks for the gift. So much for Cheng Roro's reliable mouth." That night, he posted on his moments. The picture was a view from the airplane window. The caption read, "See you again if fate allows." Cheng Roro didn't forget to screenshot it and tease me. "Is this directed at you?" I replied with a middle finger emoji and promptly muted her. Then I retreated under the covers again. A small patch of the pillowcase was damp. The next time I saw Lu Chuan's WeChat moments was about half a year later. While brushing my cat Sum's fur and scrolling through my phone, his profile picture caught my eye. Just like last time, it was a picture of the sky. I stared at it for a full few minutes before slowly scrolling past. I didn't want to care too much. Although I still dreamed about him from time to time, and seeing things he liked would remind me of him. Honestly, I had mostly moved on by now. Shifting my focus back to WeChat, Jiang Ning had sent me several messages in a row. "Come out for dinner tonight. I have a handsome guy to introduce to you. A total catch. You'll regret it if you don't come. If you don't come, I'll drag you out of your house." Over the past 6 months, I had completely turned into a homebody, more settled. I was lazy about going out. On weekdays, it was work, home, repeat. Weekends, I stayed in. I basically saw Jiang Ning once or twice a week. If he didn't actively message me on WeChat, we were pretty much out of touch. Finally, unable to withstand his bombardment of calls and messages, I went to meet him wearing plain athletic wear. The gathering was at a quiet bar. It was close to home, so I walked. Walking in and seeing the scene, I almost turned right back around. The long bar counter was filled with Jiang Ning's male friends, and he sat right in the middle of that eye-catching group of handsome guys, waving frantically at me. His eyes seemed to say, "You dare leave and you're dead." Jiang Ning specifically arranged my seat next to the guy he highly recommended, heavily hinting for me to make the first move. I turned my head and ignored it. While sipping juice and figuring out how to leave, that guy spoke up. "Not drinking?" I looked over at the sound. A refined, handsome face met my eyes, smiling as he looked at me. "I quit drinking." "Really?" "Yee." "Really?" Jiang Ning said you can hold your liquor well, and asked me to challenge you to a drinking contest. I glared at Jiang Ning, who was chatting animatedly with others, mentally cursing him. Using the restroom as an excuse, I planned to sneak out the back door, texting Jiang Ning as I walked. Passing by the men's restroom, I bumped into someone coming out. I was about to apologize when I looked up. That familiar face froze me in place. I looked down at the phone I had knocked out of his hand. which fell to the floor. Just as I was about to bend down to pick it up, Zheng Zhao's voice came from behind. Zhang Lian, are you leaving? The phone, which I hadn't yet picked up, was taken by another hand with distinct knuckled fingers. Looking up, my eyes met his surprised gaze. Perhaps it had been too long since we last saw each other. Neither of us expected to meet under such circumstances. Both Lu Chuan and I stood there frozen. Before I could even greet him, Zheng Zhao's voice broke the awkward silence. Zhang Lian? I snapped back to reality, shifting my gaze from Lu Chuan. Huh. Zheng Zhao walked over as he spoke. If you're heading back, I can take you. It's not safe for a girl to go back alone at night. Just as I was about to politely decline, Lu Xuan, who had been silent, spoke up. I'm heading back too. I can give you a ride. It's on the way. His tone wasn't asking. It sounded like he assumed I wouldn't object. Zheng Zhao finally noticed the unusual atmosphere between Lu Chuan and me. His expression turned awkward. Since you have a friend to take you, I'll head off then. I'll let Jiang Ning know for you. Thanks. As Zheng Zhao's figure disappeared around the corner, I turned back. Lu Chuan was watching me intently. Let's go. His tone and actions were so natural, it created the illusion that we were just friends who hadn't seen each other in a few days. Not exes who broke up over half a year ago. The moment I got in the car, the first thing I noticed was the pair of cat ceramics fixed to the dashboard. They looked almost untouched, without a scratch or flaw, as good as new. I pursed my lips, my heartbeat inexplicably sped up. The familiar scent of cologne in the air suddenly felt unfamiliar. After closing the car door, Lu Chuan reminded me, fasten your seatbelt. Clumsily buckling up, it only hit me later that I had actually gotten into Lu Xuan's car. From the moment we met until now, my mind had become completely sluggish. I felt both nervous and awkward. While waiting at a red light, he suddenly spoke. Still living in the same place? Yes. After a pause of a few seconds, I asked, why are you back? Some business matters. I'll probably be here for a while. Before I knew it, the car stopped at the entrance of my apartment complex. I opened the door to get out. Lu Chuan asked from behind, I'd like to come up and see the cat. Is that okay? The words of refusal reached my throat. Meeting his cautious gaze, my heart softened, and I instinctively replied, sure. It wasn't until we were in the elevator together that I started to regret it. Why on earth did I agree to this late at night? After opening the door, I fumbled for the light switch. The moment the light came on, the cat darted out from somewhere, meowing incessantly. A bad feeling rose inside me. Sure enough, wherever he had run, faint yellow paw prints were left on the floor. Lulu, you didn't bury your poop properly again. I tossed the keys aside. Just as I was about to catch him to prevent further floor disasters, this agile chubby ball had already scurried over to Lu Xuan's feet, rubbing against them frantically. Such a disloyal cat son. Lu Chuan didn't show any disgust. He bent down, picked him up, and even lowered his head to sniff the cat's head. Then I heard his soft chuckle. Smelly. I got pet wipes and thoroughly cleaned the cat's paws and bottom, while he was still in Lu Xiao's arms. Just as I was almost done, the cat started acting up again, wriggling his chubby body free from Lu Chuan's hold. The moment he jumped down, he darted under the sofa. My patience was wearing thin. I was about to yell at him when I noticed Lu Chuan behind me, and forcefully held it back. I could only go to the bathroom to get a mop and clean the floor. While cleaning, I stepped back and turned around. My shoulder brushed against something solid. Looking back, Lu Xuan was standing right behind me. I was about to step back to put some distance between us when Lu Chuan reached out and held my arm. Lulu was right behind my feet. If I moved even slightly, I'd step on his tail. At that moment, we were very close. Almost in an embrace. Looking up, I met his deep brown eyes, which seemed to hold a hint of a smile. Maybe it was my imagination, that Lu Chuan seemed a bit different, a little strange. He didn't let go. His large hand gently held my arm, his Adam's apple bobbing. Was that guy today your friend? He's a friend of Jiang Ning's. His lips parted slightly, as if he wanted to say more when his phone rang from his pocket. He finally released my arm and walked aside to answer the call. Soon after, he left. Before leaving, he took out a small gift box and handed it to me. A return gift. Opening it, it was a necklace with a cat pendant. Waking up the next day and seeing nearly 10 messages from Jiang Ning, I silently set him to Do Not Disturb. Not long after, I received a friend request on WeChat. The verification message said, Zheng Jiao. No, need to guess. It was Jiang Ming's doing. 2 days later, Cheng Ro Ro, having found out about my chance encounter with Lu Chuan, showed up at my door, her gossip-loving soul burning brightly. Facing her barrage of questions, I only answered with 4 words. Nothing happened. The light in her eyes dimmed. I guessed her little thought in one glance. Do you think exes who meet again after a breakup are destined to rekindle their romance? She chuckled. Usually something happens. Especially when a guy and a girl are alone together late at night. My cousin said he wanted to see the cat, but he was really there to see you, wasn't he? Impossible. I immediately denied. You really have an overactive imagination. I picked up my bag and walked to the entry to put on my shoes. I'm going to work. The cat just pooped. Clean it up for me later, will you? On the subway, I received a message from Zheng Zhao. Let's go eat hot pot with Jiang Ning tonight at that place you like. Zheng Zhao had been finding topics to chat with me, on and off these past 2 days. Plus, we've been playing the same game recently, so we had more common interests and gradually became more familiar. After thinking for a moment, I replied with an okay. I hadn't been going out after work lately, and it had been a long time since I'd had hot pot. But that evening, just as I was about to head to the agreed-upon place after work, Cheng Ro Ro sent me a message asking me to come to her place for hot pot. What a coincidence. But since I already had plans with Zheng Zhao, I politely declined. She replied with a crying emoji. Got a new situation? I turned off the screen, ignoring it. However, when I got to the hot pot place, Jiang Ning was nowhere to be seen. Zheng Zhao explained. He had something come up last minute and said he can't make it. He probably just made up an excuse. After finishing the hot pot, Zheng Zhao mentioned a newly released romance movie and asked if I wanted to watch it. Seeing my hesitation, he scratched the back of his head, an uncharacteristic shyness appearing on his face. Actually, I already bought the tickets. In the end, naturally, I couldn't refuse and went with him to the cinema on the 3rd floor of the mall. The movie was about a couple's relationship from high school through college. They later broke up due to long-distance work and family reasons. 5 years later, they met again, and the male lead pursued the female lead, leading to a reconciliation. Watching the movie's ending, I suddenly thought of Cheng Ro Ro's words from the morning. Lu Chuan and I getting back together? Impossible. Lu Chuan isn't the type who can't let go of a past relationship easily. Besides, he was the one who initiated the breakup. He was so resolute back then. He must have no feelings left for me now. Before we got together, Lu Chuan's ex-girlfriend tried to get back together with him, and he refused without any sentimentality. I still remember his words to this day. I believe that once a couple reaches the point of breaking up, getting back together will only lead to repeating the same mistakes. He probably still holds that belief now. Jiang Lian? Zheng Zhao's voice brought me back. Turning, I met his smiling eyes. The movie's over. I'll take you back. Exiting the subway station, we walked side by side for about 10 minutes to the entrance of my apartment complex. Suddenly, a motorcycle sped past, heading straight toward me. Zheng Zhao reacted quickly, pulling me toward him. The motorcycle passed extremely close. If he hadn't pulled me in time, I probably would have been grazed. Are you okay? He asked with concern. Shaken, I shook my head. Suddenly I noticed a figure standing not far away. After saying goodbye to Zheng Zhao and walking closer, under the dim yellow streetlight, I finally recognized that familiar face. Lu Chuan was holding a bag. I didn't know how long he had been standing there. Maybe he had been there since Zheng Zhao and I walked over. Out with a friend? He asked. Yes, went out for dinner. I glanced at his full bag. Are you here to see Cheng Ro Ro? Had hot pot at her place tonight. Lu Chuan slowly withdrew his gaze. There wasn't a trace of a smile on his face, and his voice sounded stiff and cold. I bought these for the cat. You can take them up. He gestured to hand me the bag. Thanks. Watching his retreating back as he walked away, I withdrew my gaze and entered the complex, feeling distracted. Although it was supposedly for the cat, half the things in the bag were actually snacks for humans. He probably just grabbed them on a whim, right? Cheng Ro happily sent me a message. You missed a chance to see Liu Xuan tonight. He had dinner at my place and even cooked himself. I smiled wryly. We had already met downstairs. At a work dinner, I had to toast and drink on behalf of my boss. I ended up drinking quite a lot. So by the time the dinner ended and everyone had left, I was barely conscious. Dizzy, I squatted outside the restaurant entrance, trying to call a car on my phone. Staggering to my feet, I realized my legs were numb. Losing my balance, I started to fall backward. A pair of strong hands grabbed my shoulders, steadying me. Turning around, Liu Chuan stood behind me, wearing a formal suit. His bangs brushed back to reveal his handsome forehead. He carried a different aura than before, and even his cologne had changed. It made him feel unfamiliar. He frowned, looking at my flushed face. Have you been drinking? I took a few steps forward. Work dinner. Couldn't avoid it. I heard his heavy sigh. Then he said, I'll take you back. I quietly followed him. He was in a suit, so he must have been here for a work dinner too. In the past, when I had unavoidable work dinners and drank until my mind was foggy, I'd call Liu Chuan. Then I'd squat at the entrance, waiting for him to appear. No matter how busy he was with work, he'd drop everything and come find me. Carry me upstairs and make me hangover soup. When the car arrived downstairs, Liu Xuan, seeing me walk unsteadily, barely able to stand, helped me upstairs. The moment my back hit the soft bed, sleepiness overwhelmed me. In my daze, a damp towel was wiping my face. I grabbed that hand and murmured instinctively, Make me some hangover soup, please. The hand stiffened for a moment, but soon I heard his low voice agree. Fast asleep. Someone came to my bedside and called softly, Zhang Lian? I just rolled over, covered my ears and continued sleeping. Finally, the door closed gently, and most of the room lights went out, leaving only the dim glow of a bedside lamp. Waking up, my head throbbed painfully. Barefoot, I walked to the living room. The bowl on the coffee table, covered with a lid, caught my attention. Removing the lid, I found it was hangover soup. So last night's memories weren't a dream. The doorbell suddenly rang. Opening the door, a delivery person outside asked, Are you Miss Zhang Lian? Yes, this is your delivery. Please take it. I took the delivery bag blankly. Watching the delivery person walk away, it suddenly dawned on me that I hadn't ordered anything. Not until I saw Mr. Liu on the delivery slip did my confusion vanish. So, what is he thinking now? This ambiguous, on and off dynamic is making me feel insecure. I'm both happy and afraid that it's all just in my head. I'm even starting to feel like I can't understand Liu Xuan anymore. The hangover, combined with the whole Liu Chuan situation, left my mind on the verge of collapse all day. By the time I got off work, my eyelids felt unbearably heavy. Dragging my exhausted body toward the subway entrance, someone suddenly tapped my shoulder from behind. I jumped, instantly jolted more awake. Turning around and seeing it was Zheng Zhao, I slowly let out a sigh of relief. When he learned I had a cat, he asked if he could come over to see it. Jiang Ning had probably mentioned to me before that Zheng Zhao really wanted a cat, but someone in his family was allergic to cat fur, so he had to give up the idea. Considering he treated me to a movie yesterday, I led him home to let him see the feline master for a bit. Little did I expect to run into Liu Xuan. He and Cheng Ro stepped out of the elevator descending to the first floor, and we literally bumped into each other. Our eyes met and the atmosphere turned stiff. Jiang Lian, off work. Cheng Ro's voice broke the tension, and my expression softened a little. You guys heading out? I asked out of politeness. Going grocery shopping. Why don't you and your friend come over to my place for dinner tonight? I suspected Cheng Ro had serious situational awareness, and didn't notice the odd vibe between Liu Xuan and me. No, that's okay. We're heading upstairs. See you later. After saying goodbye, I pressed the door close button hard. Just as the elevator doors were about to close with a narrow gap, it seemed like Liu Xuan looked back. Before I could see clearly, the doors shut tightly. An uncontrollable dull ache spread in my chest. My mom's phone call came while I was listlessly curled on the sofa playing a game. Her call forced me to quit the game. As soon as I answered, I heard her caring voice. Zhang Lian, have you eaten? Mum, it's 10 p.m. Then have you had a midnight snack? I cut off my mum's small talk and got straight to the point. Mum, if there's something, just say it. After all, she usually might not call me even once a month. She rarely even sent caring messages on WeChat. Every time her call came, I knew she wanted something. Sure enough, as soon as I said that, she immediately laughed. My daughter really knows me. It's like this. Your mom has a friend whose son is 28 this year and still single. You're 26 now and haven't dated since the breakup. I was thinking you could meet him and have a chat. I looked up at the ceiling, feeling utterly hopeless. What was coming had finally arrived. We can meet, but don't ask about anything after the meeting. I have no other opinions. Don't worry, Mom won't nag. I'll send you his WeChat info first. Add him. I didn't expect it, but the contact card my mom sent was Zheng Zhao, whom I had added just days ago. To top it off, she also sent me some casual photos from his social media. Look, this young man is tall and handsome, and he has a stable income. I replied to her on WeChat with a poker face, saying a few perfunctory things before going back to the interrupted game. To fulfill the obligation, I still invited Zheng Zhao out, just to go through the motions. As soon as we met, he was holding a large bag. I thought it was a meeting gift, but when he opened the bag, it was filled with cat food cans, cat treats, and cat toys. Everything was cat-related. These are for your cat. Meeting his earnest and expectant gaze, I had no choice but to accept them. The other day when he saw my cat, he seemed to really like him. Plus, Lulu isn't shy with strangers and let Zheng Zhao hold and pet him, which made him feel honored. But I didn't expect him to like the cat enough to buy so many things. Since you like our Lulu so much, I'll send you some of his photos. As I spoke, I opened the photo album on my phone dedicated to Lulu. Can I pick a few myself? Zheng Zhao leaned his head closer. I looked up at the sound, and my lips almost brushed his hair. I lowered my head again, trying to sound calm. Sure. Then I turned the phone screen toward him. Zheng Zhao swiped through the photos one by one. His finger stopped when a picture appeared of a man lowering his head to pet the cat. Is the guy from the elevator the other day your boyfriend? He asked calmly, raising his eyes. He's my ex-boyfriend. My answer made the tension he was deliberately hiding in his eyes fade a bit. He curved his lips into a smile again, swiped to the next photo, and casually changed the subject. This one is really cute. In the end, he hesitantly selected over a dozen pictures, then stood up. I'll go to the restroom. After sending the pictures, I shifted my gaze to the street scene outside the window. Just then, the shop door opened with a jingle. I looked over. That tall, slender figure made me freeze for a second. I almost forgot Lu Chuan had been to this cafe a few times before. While I was still in a daze for a few seconds, Zheng Zhao leaned closer, blocking the figure at the door against the backlight. Should we go out for a walk? The word okay was on the tip of my tongue when I caught sight of Cheng Ro Ro following Lu Chuan in out of the corner of my eye. I knew it was bad. Just as I was about to gather my things and leave, Cheng Ro Ro spotted me first and trotted over. Zhang Lian, what a coincidence. She gave a knowing look at Zheng Zhao beside me. Are you two on a date? Before I could respond, Lu Chuan walked over. His gaze rested on the two of us, his emotions unreadable. Yeah, Zheng Zhao answered with a smile. Cheng Ro Ro glanced around the cafe, which had no empty seats. Mind if we join your table? With that, she had already sat down, opened the menu on the table, all in one smooth motion. Zheng Zhao picked up the bag from the other seat and said to Lu Chuan, "Have a seat." Cheng Ro Ro looked at the bag curiously. What's this? Zheng Zhao explained. These are cat snacks and toys I bought for Lulu. Wow, do you really like cats? Yes, Zheng Zhao replied, sitting back down next to me. So, are you two dating? Cheng Ro Ro's question made me, who was sipping my latte, choke instantly. I covered my mouth, coughing until my face turned red. She was definitely doing it on purpose. A pack of tissues was suddenly handed to me. Following the hand's owner, I saw Lu Xuan looking at me with concern in his eyes. No need. I have my own. I didn't take it, turning my head to flusteredly pull tissues from my bag. Zheng Zhao silently pushed the glass of water beside him toward me. And just like that, Cheng Ro Ro's question was glossed over. Lu Chuan left midway, due to some business. In the end, only the three of us remained. Once Lu Chuan was gone, Cheng Ro became even more talkative, bombarding Zheng Zhou with questions. Before parting, she even shamelessly went to ask Zheng Zhao for his WeChat. Back home, I collapsed onto the sofa, physically and mentally exhausted, as if I'd just survived a major battle. In the evening, the doorbell rang. I put down the hairdryer and looked through the peephole. A man stood at the door, head lowered, leaning against the wall. It was Lu Xuan. Steeling myself, I opened the door and instantly caught the smell of alcohol on him. His face had a faint flush, tinged with drunkenness. His beautiful eyes were hazy, looking at me confusedly. Is now a good time? I have something to say to you. I frowned. Do you know what time it is? He lowered his eyelashes, veiling the emotions in his eyes, his voice soft. I know. He took a step, slowly moving closer. I shifted to the side to make room. He swayed slightly. When he came in and saw the pair of large men's slippers, his whole body paused. I closed the door and walked past him into the living room. Are you two dating? May I ask, in what capacity are you inquiring about my personal matters? Faced with his question, an inexplicable irritation rose within me. As your ex-boyfriend, is that okay? Then I have the right not to answer. It's my private affair. I bent down to unplug the hairdryer. When I turned around, he was already right in front of me. His tall frame cast a shadow over me. The sense of oppression from the height difference made my heart race. I wanted to step back, but my leg hit the sofa, and I fell onto it. He took the opportunity to place his hands on the back of the sofa, trapping me between his arms, his gaze intense. Jiang Lian, I regret it. My voice trembled slightly. Regret what? Breaking up with you half a year ago. His answer threw me into a state of panic. What did he mean? Why was he suddenly saying this? Jiang Lian, let's get back together. Okay? He looked at me pleadingly. I forced myself to stay calm and pushed him away. Lu Xuan, do you know what you're doing right now? He staggered back a few steps and nodded. I know. Applying to work in another city, I took the initiative. I thought if we didn't see each other, I'd slowly let you go. Just like before. But I was wrong. I found out I'm just like you. I can't let go of this relationship either. He rubbed his forehead in defeat. Perhaps he was quite drunk because he started rambling. Several times, I wanted to come find you, to know how you're doing now, if there are any new men in your life, if you're dating anyone. I've been acting like I have a split personality. I used to arrogantly believe I could pick up and let go easily, that it would be the same with you. When you asked to get back together, I was still convinced that not being able to let go was just because I wasn't used to someone who was always by my side suddenly being gone. Looking at it now, I oversimplified everything. I listened quietly to what he said, then stood up from the sofa. Lu Chuan, you're drunk, not in your right mind. Let's talk tomorrow when you're sober. I was afraid that when he woke up the next day, he'd realize last night's words were just drunken nonsense. Maybe deep down, I still couldn't believe Lu Chuan still liked me. After all, he was so resolute when we broke up, without a hint of hesitation. Maybe when he woke up tomorrow, he'd find it was all just a dream. But Lu Chuan stubbornly blocked my way. I know very clearly what I said. I braced my arms against his chest to keep some distance. You should go back first. We can continue this topic tomorrow when you're clear-headed. Lu Chuan shook his head, his tone even carrying a hint of grievance. You don't believe what I'm saying, do you? I turned my head to avoid his pitiful gaze. Go back. It's very late now. He placed his hands on my face. The warmth of his palms made my cheeks burn, and my heart beat so fast it felt like it would leap out of my chest. He stroked my lips with his thumb, and his hazy eyes suddenly seemed clearer. Forced by his strength, I had to look directly at his face again. My lips parted slightly, wanting to say something, but he had already lowered his head and kissed me. Carrying the impulsiveness from the alcohol, his kiss was urgent and deep, muddling my mind for a moment, my rationality slowly being stripped away. The harsh light overhead made me close my eyes, temporarily lost in this kiss that felt like it was happening in a dream. It wasn't until he released me, looking at me with lingering desire, that I jolted awake and pushed him away forcefully. Go back. I turned my head away and pushed him toward the entryway. He didn't say much more. Just as the door was about to close, he said softly, I know what I'm doing. Once the door closed, I slumped to the floor. If I hadn't pushed him away just now, what would have happened? I didn't dare imagine. Early in the morning, Cheng Ro Ro came to find me, yawning as she handed me a breakfast bag. "Eat up," she said, squinting and leaning against the wall. "Did you buy this for me?" Cheng Ro Ro shook her head. "Lu Chuan did. He asked me to give it to you. He took the early high-speed train and left. He went back." Hearing this news, my heart suddenly felt hollow, as if something had been pulled out of it. He said something urgent came up with work. Closing the door, I absent-mindedly set the breakfast down, and only then noticed a message from Lu Chuan on my phone. "I'll be back in a couple of days. Remember to eat breakfast." I stared at that line for a long time before finally replying with just an okay. My heart felt somewhat lighter. At least I didn't have to face him for the next 2 days. That weekend, I slept for 2 whole days, until Jiang Ning's relentless phone calls dragged me out from under the covers. It seemed he and Cheng Ro Ro were in cahoots, one calling, the other knocking on my door, and just like that, I was dragged off to a gathering. A gathering where Cheng Ro Ro and Jiang Ning were the only ones keeping the atmosphere lively the entire time. Bai Heng sat quietly to the side. Zheng Zhao hadn't arrived yet, so the KTV room was filled only with the sound of their singing and chatter. I boredly scrolled through my phone. Midway, I got up to use the restroom. On the way I saw Zheng Zhao hurrying over. It seemed to be drizzling outside. He didn't have an umbrella. His hair and shoulders were dotted with water droplets. Seeing me, he smiled nonchalantly. "Got unlucky today. Ran into rain without an umbrella." I handed him the pack of tissues from my pocket. "Dry off." As we chatted in the lobby, Zheng Zhi suddenly mentioned he hadn't had dinner. "Want to go get a late-night snack together?" he asked me. "But it's raining, and we don't have an umbrella," I replied, looking at the light rain outside the glass doors. "Wait here for me. I'll go buy an umbrella." With that, Zheng Zhao turned and ran back out. His figure disappeared into the fine rain again. He covered his head with his hands and jogged to a nearby store. And so I waited quietly for him. A foldable umbrella, not too big, not too small, just enough for the two of us. Though our shoulders bumped from time to time, he intentionally or unintentionally tilted the umbrella toward my side. When we reached the restaurant, a small patch on his shoulder was thoroughly soaked. We each ordered a bowl of noodles. After only a few bites, Jiang Ning called, "Are you two off on a secret rendezvous?" His teasing voice came through. We were hungry and came out to eat. You and Cheng Ro Ro were singing so happily, we didn't want to disturb. After chatting with him briefly, I hung up. Zheng Zhao looked up. "Jiang Ning?" He told us to go over after we finish eating." Starting the walk back, the rain was heavier than before. Halfway there, wind and rain picked up, forcing us to take shelter under the awning of a convenience store. We stood under the eaves, waiting for the rain to stop. Zheng Zhao suddenly reached out and pulled me toward him. His tone was gentle. "The rain's blowing in." I was about to thank him when the convenience store door slowly opened. A familiar figure walked out. Lu Chuan, holding a bag, looked over in surprise. He was back. "I was just about to look for you." Lu Chuan walked over, bypassing Zheng Zhao, his eyes cold and emotionless. I awkwardly forced a smile. "Oh, really? I went out with Jiang Ning and the others tonight. Didn't you see my messages?" Lu Chuan asked in a low voice. I looked at my phone set to silent and the several unread messages from Lu Chuan, feeling even more embarrassed. "Forgot to check, sorry." Just then, Zheng Zhao's voice interjected. The rain stopped. Looking out, except for water dripping from the eaves, the rain had completely stopped. Zheng Zhao turned his meaningful gaze to me. "So, are you leaving with him? Or coming with me to find Jiang Ning?" All three of us stood in the not-so-spacious convenience store entrance. With both Zheng Zhao and Lu Xuan being tall, it suddenly felt crowded and conspicuous. After wrestling with it for a few seconds, I clenched my fist and forced myself to speak. "Lu Xuan, I already had plans with Jiang Ning and the others." Lu Xuan froze for a moment, a touch of loss flickering in his eyes. He didn't say anything else, just said goodbye, and left without looking back. He was probably angry. I let out a long sigh. Being alone together meant we'd have to continue the conversation from that night. But my mind was a jumbled mess right now, and I couldn't give him an answer. Zheng Zhao slowly withdrew his gaze and looked at me. Why didn't you leave with him? There was a hint of amusement in his tone. I felt embarrassed. I don't know how to face him right now. Zheng Zhao seemed to guess something. He asked to get back together. I nodded. He wants to get back together half a year after breaking up. He was the one who initiated the breakup back then. I even asked him to get back together before. But now I'm long past that mindset. If this were half a year ago, I would have agreed without hesitation. Zheng Zhao leaned his back against the wall, looking up at the dark sky. The curve of his lips gradually faded, his expression turning serious. I've actually been through something similar. My first love looked me up 3 years ago. It seemed she had regrets about our not-so-pleasant breakup and asked if I wanted to get back together. I didn't agree. After so long, I had already let go. Otherwise, I wouldn't have waited for her to come find me 3 years later. As he finished speaking, he naturally reached into his pocket, pulled out a cigarette and lighter. The cigarette was already between his lips, but he never lit it. You don't like the smell of smoke, do you? He asked me. I was blunt. Who likes secondhand smoke? He lowered his head and smiled. Your hesitation is more because of the regret from being rejected when you asked to get back together half a year ago, isn't it? He put the cigarette back into the pack. I remained silent, unable to deny that there was still regret in my heart about my relationship with Lu Chuan. Getting back together doesn't mean we would necessarily last. Suddenly, countless thoughts flooded my mind. If we got back together and ended up the same as before, wouldn't we just break up again eventually? Save those thoughts for when you get home tonight. Jiang Ning and the others are still waiting for us. Zheng Yao's voice pulled me out of the whirlpool of thoughts. Looking up, I met his clear eyes. I composed myself and started walking with him toward the KTV. Back in the private room, I pretended nothing had happened, letting Cheng Ro Ro pull me into choosing songs and singing duets. Belting out off-key songs at the top of my lungs, not caring about my image, seemed to release a lot of the pent-up emotions inside me. After singing, Jiang Ning suggested we all go for barbecue skewers. And so, a few of us sat at a roadside barbecue stall, eating skewers and drinking beer, chatting until past 1 in the morning. During that time, Cheng Ro Ro drank without a care. Seeing that, I didn't dare drink much. When it was time to leave, her face was flushed. She swayed unsteadily and kept muttering to herself. Jiang Ning, don't go. Let's keep drinking. She tugged at Jiang Ning's sleeve beside her. Jiang Ning shook off her hand and scoffed. You're already drunk and still want to drink. Be good. Go home, wash up and sleep. In the end, I helped support Cheng Ro Ro as we parted ways with the others at a fork in the road. Before leaving, Zheng Zhao still asked worriedly if I needed help. I just smiled. This girl weighs less than 100 pounds, I can manage. Cheng Ro Ro let out a tipsy burp and added quietly, I'm 90 pounds, 5'5", 28 this year. Single, never married. My measurements are... I quickly covered her unruly mouth and dragged her toward the apartment complex entrance not far away. Waking up in the morning, I saw the message Lu Chuan had sent me. He wanted to meet in the afternoon. I agreed. My previously sleepy brain was now wide awake. With nervous, uneasy feelings, I arrived at the agreed-upon cafe at the designated time. Pushing the door open, I saw Lu Chuan sitting in a corner. He quickly looked up, his gaze meeting mine at the entrance, his expression cool. What would you like to drink? He pushed the menu toward me. No need, water is fine. At this moment, I wasn't in the mood to choose a drink. After a brief silence, he spoke again. I'm going back tomorrow. If there's no official business to handle, I probably won't come back. In the future, I plan to buy a place there. The meaning behind his words was obvious. My fingers tightened around the rim of the glass. Only when I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood did I look up and meet his expectant gaze. Lu Chuan, let's not get back together. The last bit of light in his eyes dimmed completely after I said that. Probably having guessed this kind of reply, he quickly masked his emotions. For the past 6 months, I can say I've been struggling through. I finally got back to a normal life. Your suggestion of getting back together seems to instantly throw my life back to how it was before. After a few minutes of heavy silence, Lu Chuan spoke again. Actually, we both share responsibility for the breakup. That night I drank, wasn't in my right mind, and went to find you. I'm sorry. He glanced at the time on his phone. Since that's the case, I have things to attend to. I should get going. After paying the bill with a jingle, he pushed open the glass door, stepped onto the sidewalk, and walked away without looking back, his figure disappearing around the corner. I sent him a "have a safe trip" on WeChat. He replied briefly with thanks. Before returning to my hometown for the new year, Cheng Ro Ro suddenly grabbed my arm and asked, "Do you regret it?" I froze for a few seconds before realizing what her question was referring to. I just shook my head and replied, "Regret what? Right now, what I regret more is booking a ticket home, where my mom will pressure me into arranged dates." Cheng Ro Ro gloated mischievously. I'm smart. Not going home for New Year. Won't have to listen to my mom's nagging. I said I wanted to find someone handsome. She said I have high standards. Then she tells me to find a rich husband. Doesn't she think about what her daughter's qualifications are? Isn't that just blatant double standards? As we chatted, she suddenly remembered something, jumped off the sofa, slipped on her slippers, and dashed out the door. While running, she yelled, "Oh no! Forgot I promised Jungning to play online games together at this time." I gave a helpless smile and continued folding clothes into my suitcase. Under my mom's urging on a freezing winter day, she dragged me out of bed. Reluctantly, I made it to the meeting place with the guy she set me up with. He was a civil servant, with delicate features, wearing black framed glasses, looking scholarly and polite. After half-heartedly chatting for a bit, I glanced at the street scene outside the shop, watching the numbers on the pedestrian signal count down, until the walk light turned green, and people on the opposite side of the street started crossing. That tall, slender figure in the crowd made me hold my breath. Naturally, he didn't notice me sitting in the shop either, quickly disappearing from my sight. In a daze, I turned my head back. Before leaving, I exchanged WeChat info with that guy. Stepping out of the shop, a cold wind blew, making me shiver. Wrapping my scarf tighter, I walked home, following the path he had just taken. In a trance, I arrived home. My mom was sitting in the living room, examining several boxes of health supplements on the sofa. As I took off my shoes, I asked, "Who sent these?" My mom beamed happily. "Lu Chuan sent them." My hands froze mid-shoe removal, one foot still suspended in the air. "When did he come?" "Just now." "Didn't you run into him?" Back in my room, I took out my phone, found Lu Chuan's WeChat and sent him a message. "You came back to our hometown for New Year too?" Soon, an affirmative reply came from the other side. I lay in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. A message from the setup guy popped up above Lu Chuan's reply. I dealt with him perfunctorily. Lu Chuan didn't send any more messages. After washing up, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep at all. The next day, I emerged from my room with dark circles under my eyes. My mom shoved a gift into my arms. "Take this return gift to Lu Chuan after lunch." I felt like I'd been doused with a bucket of cold water. "Mom, are you serious? What's wrong with me? Isn't it normal for you to return a gift? Let my brother go. I tried one last time. He already went out." In the end, I went out carrying the gift against the cold wind. Lu Chuan's house was 3 kilometers from mine. Exiting the subway, I mustered the courage to text him. I waited 10 minutes, but he didn't reply. Standing at his doorstep, my heart pounded wildly. I'd been to his house once before, but that time I was invited by his parents for a meal. I pressed the doorbell and held my breath, waiting. Finally, the doors slowly opened, revealing that familiar face. He was wearing pajamas, his hair fluffy and a bit messy, as if he'd just gotten out of bed. Seeing it was me, he froze for a few seconds before quickly regaining his composure. "Why are you here?" "My mom asked me to bring you a return gift." I handed over the gift bag, my expression stiff. He took it, a flicker of disappointment in his eyes. "Please thank your mom for me." I peeked at the empty living room behind him and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. I should go. Walking into the elevator, I heard the soft sound of the door closing. For New Year's Eve dinner, my dad booked a private room at a big restaurant. He called me last minute to go home and fetch some wine. Rushing to the restaurant, I ran into Lu Chuan again. Before either of us could even greet each other, my mom arrived in a flurry. Seeing Lu Chuan, her eyes lit up. Lu Chuan, what are you doing here? Auntie, I'm having New Year's Eve dinner here with my family, Lu Chuan explained. I stopped my mum from chattering on, pulling her back to our private room. She kept looking longingly at Lu Chuan's retreating figure. It's such a pity you broke up with him. I pursed my lips, not saying anything, an indescribable feeling in my heart. As the holiday was about to end, seeing I hadn't made any progress with the last setup guy, my mom strongly insisted I meet one more before returning to work. Unable to withstand her nagging, I agreed. It was the same cafe as last time, the same window seat. Only this time, the person across from me was different. This time it was a slightly overweight man with a beer belly. He wore an ill-fitting suit, and when he smiled, his eyes narrowed into slits, giving off a somewhat simple and honest vibe. However, after chatting with him for a bit, that simple and honest image in my mind vanished completely. Your current income is less than a third of mine. After marriage, I would hope you could be a good homemaker, taking care of the family and my mum. She would move in to live with us after we're married. Also, I cut him off in time. Sir, isn't it a bit early to talk about this? But he was completely unfazed. To be honest, at your age, you're probably quite anxious to get married. I have a car, a house, and my looks are passable. There's no reason for you not to choose me. His demeanor and tone were full of confidence. The corner of my mouth twitched. I never expected to encounter such a bizarre setup. I think you've misunderstood. The one anxious to get married is my mom. Not me, I said calmly, picking up my bag to leave. I have things to do. I should get going. Walking out of the shop, the guy chased after me and grabbed my hand. His voice carried a hint of anger. Hey, what do you mean? We barely talked and you're leaving. What about me isn't good enough for you? I tried to pull my hand free, but his grip was too strong, squeezing my wrist tightly, making me wince in pain. Let go. Explain yourself clearly, and I'll let go. I was so angry, I almost laughed. We only exchanged a few words. What is there to explain clearly? If you don't let go, don't blame me for being rude. TCH, he sneered. No wonder you're still unmarried at this age. So arrogant and picky. Before I could retort, the hand holding mine was already pulled away by another hand. Looking back, I found Lu Xuan standing behind me, frowning, his expression angry. Apologize to her, he said coldly. Seeing the many pedestrians around, all eyes on us, I gritted my teeth and pulled Lu Xuan away. Arguing with someone like this was pointless and a waste of time. When we reached a less crowded street, he stopped and held me back. I turned around, looking at him in confusion. How many is this? He asked in a low voice. Huh? I didn't catch on immediately. Facing his direct gaze, I flushed with embarrassment and lowered my head. The last time was at that same shop, wasn't it? You saw? I was surprised. I thought he wouldn't have noticed. I saw. So, among all the setup dates, you haven't felt anything for any of them, right? He continued. I pursed my lips, not speaking. He held my hand tightly, not intending to let go, just stubbornly looking at me, waiting for my answer. I released my lips and sighed. You're right. None of the setups have worked out. Or maybe, you still haven't let go of me, so you can't like anyone else. I stared back at him, dumbfounded, unable to refute it. Indeed, whether meeting in person or chatting online, no matter what type of man, I couldn't muster any enthusiasm, let alone develop feelings. After nearly several minutes of silence, I heard him say in my ear, if that's the case, why not start over with me? We both examine our own faults, improve and try to understand each other. Can't we do that? Or do you think you can find the right person through endless blind dates that seem to have no end? His tone carried a plea. Can't you give me one more chance? My resolve wavered as I tightened my grip on his hand, 1,000 thoughts racing through my mind in an instant. As if a long century had passed, I slowly said, Okay, let's get back together. From now on, I won't do things that make you uncomfortable or jealous anymore. I won't be willful. Lu Xuan seemed taken aback that I agreed, frozen for a long moment. Just as I was about to ask why he wasn't saying anything, he suddenly lowered his head and kissed me. He just lingered briefly on my lips, then took my hand and started walking. Where are we going? I asked him. Home for dinner, he answered naturally. Our homes are in different directions? He chuckled softly. To your home. The end.